Welcome to Reddit Aliens. What are some surreal or unexplainable experiences that happened to you? Part 2. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Seeing things glitch. Like, once I was driving home and I swore I saw a telephone pole shimmer or glitch out for a brief moment before going back to normal. You know how on old TVs the picture would jerk or shimmer just for an instant? It was like that, but only the pole. Once in a while, I sometimes can feel a giant hand clap down on my right shoulder. Always my right shoulder. It's very similar to how my father claps his hand down, but it's a bit heavier. It has happened about 4 or 5 times now. Don't know if it's a weird shoulder pain or something, but it very distinctly feels like a hand. Every time it happens, I whip around to see who's there, but there's always no one. Years ago, I heard my dad's voice frantically shouting my name while I was drifting off to sleep. I jolted awake, then realized it was just an auditory hallucination. I used to get them occasionally in my teens, but they've usually just sounded like random mumbling, like the TV was on in another room. This startled me because it was my dad's voice, and he sounded desperate and scared. I never heard him like that in real life. Tried calling him the next day, but he never picked up the phone. Later that week, I got a phone call from a relative telling me that he had passed away. That auditory hallucination was the last time I heard his voice, and it happened the same night he was being rushed to the hospital.
Have you ever been able to lucid dream? I've always wanted to, but not yet.
So I've done a lot of lucid dreaming in the past few months, and by a lot I mean like a lot. And now I sometimes feel like I can control the reality, but not really much, just little things. These examples I'll name here are for itself pretty normal, I think, but they happen so often and always when I think about them. So, sometimes when I wake up, it rains, pretty normal, but then when I get out of the house, it stops. And when I arrive at work, it starts seconds after I enter the building, multiple times now. Or, I feel like meeting up with some friends, and a couple minutes later, a friend texts me if I want to do something. And the weirdest thing yet is probably that I don't know why. I go to sleep, and the next day, when I wake up and I look at the clock, and I'm an hour late for work, and I get out. When I arrive, I'm perfectly there on time. Even when I left the house after work began. I'm pretty young, I guess. I completed my apprenticeship 2 years ago, and I'm 23 now. The last time I had sleep paralysis, I woke up thinking I was going to die. My heart was pounding and my vision was extremely blurry, but in a super low quality YouTube video kind of way. I was seriously freaking out. This is the closest I've ever felt to death. I was trying everything in my power to move or scream out to my mom to no avail. I had complete movement of my left hand, but it wasn't even my hand. It was, from what I could see, a wispy blue hand that seriously felt like mine. I'm still sort of confused about this because I put my fake hand down and completely forgot about it, I guess. At this point, my heart and vision returned to normal, but I was still stuck in the bed, only able to move my eyes and mouth. I called for my mom in the kitchen, and she responded to me. Thankfully, I finally felt safe, and I was able to relax. I was down laying parallel to the doorframe and could see down the hall to my mother's room. In the center of the hallway, along the left wall, was an opening to the rest of the house. Living room comes first, and the kitchen is the next room over. My mom sounded like she was in the kitchen, so I patiently waited, staring at this open door, expecting her to pop up any second. I call her again and again. Every single time I call her, she responds with a variation of, "I'm coming." This goes on for what seemed like a year until her voice finally started getting close to my door. I closed my eyes, relieved, and reopened them with full mobility, and my sleep paralysis had worn off. Only then did I realize my mom was in Arizona visiting my brother and his wife. I'm on the fence about this experience being real or a dream, and I tear up just thinking about it because it truly freaked me out. There have been a couple other paranormal situations in my earlier life, but I don't believe they're real. Not sure if I'm denying it because I don't want to seem crazy, or if I'm actually crazy. When I was a kid, maybe 7 or so, I was really excited for Easter. This made it difficult to get to sleep, but eventually I did. When I woke up, I was ready to jump out of bed and eat chocolate, but quickly realized it was still nighttime and had woken up in the middle of the night. It was one of those times you wake up and don't really know why. I lived out in the middle of the country, a densely forested area at the time, not many people around, but heaps of mosquitoes. So I had a mosquito net around my bed, which made it hard to see out. I still had a lamp on, though, because I was afraid of the dark. When I woke up, I looked to my side, and I swear I saw a giant Easter bunny, but like if a large man was wearing an Easter bunny costume. All I saw was the silhouette, but it was just standing over me, really effing close to my bed, just watching. Over the years, I keep wondering if this was a dream, but I swear it felt so damn awake. Like, I even remember the feeling of the sheets in great detail. The bunny man thing didn't move, and I was too terrified to do anything. All I could do was put my head under my sheet. It was very thin, though, so I could still see it. I stayed like that for hours, and I don't really remember anything else. I guess I just fell asleep again. I woke up later and tried and asked my dad if he had come down in the night with a bunny costume or something. I think at the time I tried to tell myself it was my dad to make it less scary. I'm not really sure. I've never been able to figure out any of this. I've asked my dad since and he doesn't know. I lived in that same place for years and never really had anything else unexplainable happen. Some guy came up to me at work, shook my hand, and gave me a big hug and kept saying, "What's up, man? How you been?" I've never met this guy in my life, but I just played along with it and he never realized he got the wrong person. And off he goes. This one I will never forget. Was in a hot tub on the side of a mountain in Idaho. A natural one, very secluded and accessible after about an hour hike. Anyways, I had been there before when visiting Montana years before. I decided to take my now ex-girlfriend at the time. We're sitting there in the hot tub talking and looking up at the stars when a black rectangular object glides over the night sky maybe 100 feet above us, almost totally silently. It was enormous, whatever it was. We were completely shook. We left hurriedly and sat in the car sort of bewildered. Talked about it for a while and then left. I haven't told many people. Still F's with me to do. My girlfriend and I were on MDMA for the first time. Towards the end of it, we were laying in bed, cuddling with our eyes closed, in the weird sort of asleep, sort of dreaming thing that happens with MDMA. As we're laying there, we both shot up at the same time and said, "Holy shit, it's a dog." I looked at her, kept saying something along the lines of, "Holy F, what did you see?" over and over. She was just saying, "No, that didn't just happen." I finally convinced her to tell me what she saw. We both described in detail. We were scrolling through Reddit or Tumblr on a phone when we saw a fuzzy teddy bear with purple and green tips to the hair on it. When all of a sudden, it moved and it ended up being a dog in a teddy bear costume. This happened a few more times that night. Our eyes would be closed, but we would see the same thing. When we opened our eyes, we could describe all the details. Craziest thing that's ever happened to me. I think we're soulmates. It's our 6-year anniversary in 3 days. Happy anniversary. I had a night terror in which my body became paralyzed and pinned down to my bed. Then demonic symbols and faces started flying past my vision. Then I started seeing all these rotting demonic mutilated creatures staring at me and tearing flesh from carcasses. I saw visions where they were eating me and ripping the skin and flesh from my body in the first person. Then it suddenly left and I was back to being in bed like normal. A while back, I remember a post on here asking nurses or EMTs about what their most terrifying experience was. One that stuck with me was when this user wrote that this one man had slit his throat and he was trying to talk, but his slit vocal cords made him sound like a robot. I remember in high school I had dropped acid, and probably 4 hours in, every voice I heard sounded all metallic and robot-y. LOL, I don't know, but I swear every person's voice felt similar to what this dude was explaining. Felt surreal. Plus, I remember seeing like pixels in the air, connecting, rearranging, disassembling, and then flying away into the night sky. Thank you very much. As a kid, we used to spend our summers up at the lake where my dad had a boat in a marina and a dock down, so did my grandparents. We typically slept on my dad's boat. As usual, we all went to sleep on my dad's boat. I can remember falling asleep right next to my sister in the cuddy. I vaguely remember dreaming of drowning, but I had dreams like that a lot. Well, the next morning I woke up on my grandparents' boat, who had theirs a dock down. My clothes were also slightly damp. Mind you, I had to walk off my dad's boat, make it onto this rickety dock, walk up the dock, walk to the next dock, all the way down that one, and step up onto grandparents' boat. No one knows how I ended up there, or why I was a little wet. Maybe I peed. I must have had some mad sleepwalking or teleportation powers though.
I'm sure there would be a way that you could market a power like this.
I woke up one morning at a friend's house. I had a weird image in my head, a picture of a guy I know at university 10 years before. The odd thing was, I was not good friends with him and had never thought of him since I was at university. I told my friend about it and how weird it was. Anyway, my friend then turned on the TV and his face was on the TV. Exactly the image I had seen. He was buying a video recorder in a TV show, like a documentary. It was definitely him. Rubbish. Superpower. I'm pretty sure I had some out-of-body experiences as a kid. I used to be laying in bed, and I could feel myself floating out of my bed, out of my room, and down the hallway. I was awake too. It's not like I dreamt this, and when I got to the end of the hallway I would fall, but I was really in my bed, so I was fine. This happened multiple times. I'm thinking at least a dozen, because I remember this so vividly. I can't explain it, and I've actually never told anyone about it. Thank you. My eyes start spontaneously watering whenever unexplainable occurrences or aliens are mentioned. It's just a super weird involuntary response. Most of my weird experiences have to do with lucid dreaming, inception, or sleep paralysis. It started happening to me on accident. Then I started researching it so I could have more control of the experience. Now I have lucid dreams a couple times a week. I recently learned that you can breathe underwater in dreams. A non-dream story. There were a couple of weeks where I kept coming home and finding my cats locked in the garage, but the doors were locked and no one had been in there from my house. They're indoor cats, and there's no secret way to enter the garage directly from the house. This was a few months back. Driving home from Walmart about 10 p.m., suddenly the entire area around us was illuminated with a blue light for a good 3 to 5 seconds. The light source appeared to be above us. No idea what caused it. We were on a 2-lane highway surrounded by woods. Still don't have a clue what happened. I am a high school student in the Iron Range area. I was friends with this guy who didn't know that I was transgender until someone told him, because apparently they don't have anything better to talk about other than my personal life. I didn't want him to know because I feared for my safety. But anyway, to make a long story short, he got angry, pulled a gun on me, and threatened to shoot me. I made it out okay, obviously, but it was very traumatic and changed the way I viewed telling people details about my life.
Could this be deja vu or just recalling the familiar in the rigors of a daily activity?
Back in middle school, I was constantly sleep deprived, partly because I had been suffering from depression for years. Once, during homeroom, I had a vivid daydream of me going about my day as normal. I wasn't anything weird, but I got up like I wasn't tired and just walked down the hall to my next class. I got woken up, and I was extremely lightheaded afterwards.